Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bomber Banter. It is the post-replay review of our round 13 game against the Blues. We went in very undermanned. It is well known. I still dreamt last night about what it would have looked like if we had two or three of our best players in the rehab group right now in the team last night. I think it made all the difference, would have made all the difference. I am disappointed to not get the win because, we all know what that dopamine hit does for internally the players and also the fans. But I do think we saw the signs that we want to keep seeing from this group, and we can't ask for too much more. And so for this review, I'm going to talk about the first quarter and then lump the last three quarters into the one because that's pretty much how the game went. We lost the first quarter and outscored them for the rest of the last three quarters. So it was much of the same observations for the last three quarters as it was for the first. So it is a bit of a concern. It is a very questionable start to games we are having. There are so many reasons why. They're just got to figure out which of the reasons it is. Are they getting too hyped before the game that they're coming out flat? Is it they're a bit passive? The younger players are a bit passive early on, not sure how hard to go. There are numerous reasons, and the club really has to look into it because obviously the two winnable games have gone now from really getting ourselves in a position into such a deficit at the end of the first quarter. And we don't want to get into this habit of having to come from behind in order to have a chance at winning or to rely on that momentum, to rely on that energy, because that gets exhausting. That mental roller coaster ride, that is exhausting from a mental point of view. Physically, it's no problem. They're athletes. They can handle that. But emotionally and mentally, it's not sustainable. So they really, really need to, whether that's a system adjustment, whether that's, this brings me to the whole Martin Merritt in the backline conversation. It's threefold because I think it's a good thing. I actually think it's a good thing. I think we are seeing such a whole complete player in Martin now. I truly believe him going to the back line last year and learning some skills back there and learning the setup and seeing the game in front of his eyes and seeing how we set up and, adding that leadership string to his bow and I think it's really rounded him out as a player now and given him the ability to adjust as needed and to go where he needs and to be a real weapon at either end of the ground and in the middle. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for Merritt to go back there and see how hard it is for the defenders, for the Andy McGraths, for the Zach Johnsons, for the Priors, to see what it's like, to be reminded of what it's like when the ball is coming in like a bullet and what it takes to actually stop a small defender or a small forward and to stop, chaos happening from back there. So I think it's good from that point of view. I think it's good from, again, spreading the load of the midfield, developing the midfielders, helping their chemistry build without Merritt, making sure it's not a no Merritt, no Essendon team because that's so important. And that doesn't happen just after one game of Merritt being out of the centre. That is a season of Merritt not being in the centre. You can't give up after 3 games of having Merritt in the back line. And obviously the most obvious reason is that we need some leadership down there. We are decimated and we need some leadership. So whilst the argument is put him in the centre and maybe we win, but we didn't lose in the midfield last night. That's not where we lost the game. So whilst it may have had maybe we would have, I think we broke even in clearances in the end, or maybe 1 or 2 in Carlton's favour, but it wouldn't have had that much of a difference to go on and win the game in comparison to how much of a difference it's making for the development of Calders, Parrish, Setterfield. Who else went through there? Perkins at times, Martin. I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing. I know we want to win and it would have led to us winning, and winning is good for, morale and all that, but I don't hate it, to be quite honest. So, yeah, at the time I didn't think it was a pressure in the first quarter. I didn't think it was that we weren't trying. But on the replay, it certainly, comparatively to Carlton, it certainly felt like our pressure was probably a notch below where theirs was. They set the tone and we didn't match it. We were certainly a little bit more tentative, and they were in a hurry to go get out to a fast start. And again, they probably knew that we were slow starters, and they really put their foot down. And to their credit, they lowered their eyes and had a bit more of a system going inside 50. They were a bit braver with their ball use, and we just didn't match their intensity, and they got on top of us. The turnovers and skill, both teams are just, at some critical moments from some, really experienced players in the middle of the ground. I love the dare. I love the intent to change, to switch an angle up and to take that difficult kick. But they've just got to be better. If you like those kicks are 50-50, but if you're not nailing the really easy ones, the 10-meter kicks and the basic, not handballing to a player standing still or with an opponent hanging off him, they're just basics, and they're continuing to let us down, because what it's doing, we're doing the hard work, and then that last kick or that second last kick or handball is resulting in a turnover, whether it's with a little bit of pressure or our own mental pressure, and then it's undoing all the good work that we've done. And with a young group, that has an emotional impact. And even at one point, I think it was in the second quarter, Merritt, we turned it over in the middle of the ground, and Merritt had run from the back line to the centre, and he did this. He did one of those, and I was like, oh God, he's fed up. And so if your captain is doing that and showing a level of disheartenment and dismay and exhaustion from the turnover game and going up and back and having done the work and laid a tackle to get it outside of defensive 50, it's going to take its toll. So they've got to get reward for their hard work, not just on the scoreboard, but also through the middle. So obviously Lual got his first goal, and it literally came from ball movement, good ball movement, fast ball movement through the middle, and his speed and burning off his opponent. So that set the tone for what was needed for the second half and beyond, the second quarter and beyond, I should say. So congratulations to him. I thought he absolutely surpassed my expectations. I have to admit, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had really low expectations on him, having watched some of his VFL matches, and I didn't quite think he had the poise and what it took to come into an AFL team. And not that our skill level is great, as I've just spoken about, but I thought he wasn't going to help that. I thought he was generally quite a fumbly player and lacked quite a bit of composure, and that's kind of an observation I've seen, consistently. And I just wasn't sure how he was going to go under more pressure and against bigger bodies on the MCG. But to his credit, he absolutely, I thought I saw maybe one fumble from him. He picked up the speed of the game. He is quick. He's agile. He read the ball really well, which was another surprising factor. And his last quarter was exceptional. He was there to hurt. His tackling technique was exceptional, absolutely incredible, brought the fire, brought the heat, and was an absolute asset in that last quarter. So well done to him. I thought at the end of the first quarter, when we weren't going so well, once again, Martin was the common denominator again. When it was all going really pear-shaped, he was the one with his head up. He looked, you could have fooled him that we were 38 points down. His big dumping tackle of Chincotta in the back in our defensive 50, when the siren was about to go at the end of the first, was a real show of, you're not getting the rest of this game easy. I am locked and loaded, and I just think what a wonderful quality to have in a player who you just know is not going to give up and does not care how bad it gets. He's just locked in and is going to try and take as many players with him as he can. So I did think that was a really, really good sign at the end of the first quarter. That was a really nice, it was a legal tackle, but it was really dumping. He chucked Chincotta on his back. we really failed to bring the ball to ground in that first quarter. Not only was the ball absolutely flying out of our forward 50, but they took 10 intercept marks. That's just playing into their hands. Haynes, Silvani, Doherty, that is just what they do. And especially aside from Peter Wright, they had height on the rest of us down there. Probably, I think Silvani and Caddy broke even, but the rest of them against Guelphy and the Smalls, that is playing into their hands. So they took 10 intercept marks. Overall, they doubled our marks for the game, uncontested marks. So that tells you a lot. A lot of, as I said, 10 of those came in the first. However, the rest of the marks show that they really tried to play keepings off, and it turned into a slow, stodgy, backward game for them, and they lost the bravery, and we forced it because they questioned us. They did not think again, like Brisbane, didn't think we were going to come to the party, didn't think we were going to work as hard to get back into it, to be brave and daring, and we forced them to go slow and stodgy and, to go back into their shells because they tried to just possess the ball and challenge our ability to defend space, to defend a player and go side to side. And to our credit, we were really up for the fight. So, all right, that's the bad. That's the really bad. Also, well, not bad, but that's where we went wrong, basically. It all went wrong in the first, and we were playing catch-up from there. I think the Silvani-Caddy matchup was really great for him. It was great. Was this his first opponent? Maybe you can all tell me in the comments. I feel like this was his first opponent who matched him athletically, physically, and just in terms of, obviously, experience. But Silvani was really able to go with him physically and in the agility race. So Silvani was happy to go toe to toe with him up the ground and really kind of body him up. But it looked like physically a really good matchup for him. I know we hate the word, but I think he would have learned so much from that last night. He looked like he dropped his head a little. I don't think he was quite up to competing as hard as he should have, but he certainly would have learned a lot from playing on a player who matched him agility-wise and physically, and who was going with him toe-to-toe. So I think it was a great matchup for him to really challenge himself. And he did drop his head, and he's going to have to learn from that a little bit. And he did have some moments where he wasn't quite competing how he should. He got out-bodied really easy and then, tried to play for a free. And you don't want to get into those habits when an opponent is beating you. You just want to stay strong, stay focused, and do the best you can. Hold your ground. If that's the worst, if you are not going to outmark, if you cannot outmark your opponent, just hold your ground and don't let yourself be pushed off the ball. Silvani's strong and experienced, and he used his body. But if nothing else, just hold your physical ground. And maybe in a year's time, when the matchup happens again and Caddy's got another preseason under his belt and is a bit stronger, he will stronger through the core, he will be able to hold his ground a bit better. But I thought it was great for him to match up on Silvani and good experience for him. So the second quarter onwards, again, obvious, we took the game on. We took that difficult kick. We took the challenging kick inbound. We spread much better. I thought Setterfield was absolutely exceptional on not only on Patrick Cripps, but his ability to spread from a contest was just as good as Durham's last night. I think Durham is probably elite at that. His ability to break free from a contest, from a stoppage, is elite. It's up there with the best. And I thought Setterfield really matched him in that area. We stopped their transition out of our forward 50. We pressed up. We put pressure. It was so clear that Brad Scott said to the forwards, you have to lock in. You have to put more pressure and body on your opponents and stop that ball flying out of there. And it certainly looked like they were up to the task. We tightened up at stoppages. I don't think we had a spare. I'm not quite sure. I didn't really notice where we had a spare player. I think we were pretty much one-on-one. No, we must have had a spare at the contest because it always felt like they had a spare in the forward line. There was triple teaming Caddy and 2 metre Peter all night. So yeah, as I said, we forced them wide and slow, and that's where they got all their contested marks. We went braver and smarter with our disposal, and we really feasted on their turnovers. We turned up the heat, and they capitulated. You put a little pressure on them, and they absolutely broke down. And I am just amazed at how this team is not higher up on the ladder. But last night, I saw a team that is nowhere near a top 8 team because they were playing a VFL side, a VFL levels, basically a VFL level side in terms of personnel. And we put just a little bit of pressure on them, and they went into that slow, really boring ball movement. And then we upped the pressure and they turned it over quite easily. So great to see that we really capitalize on the turnovers and forcing the turnovers, so we got reward for the effort, and of course that raised the energy, and and they felt like they were getting the reward, and then it turned into scoreboard reward too. 2 meter Peter, his contested mark against 4 Carlton players in the third quarter was the absolute best of him, and he had an incredible game, not for his 3 beautiful goals, but for his 1%ers, especially in the first and second quarters. His little blocks, after a ruck tap down, and it's more the second efforts. You know how last year we were all talking, the commentary was about him being soft and the second efforts. It's his second efforts that he's got back. So he'll tap, and then straight away he's straight into looking to block a player for one of our mids, or he's straight away looking to grab a player. Last year it was a tap and then a 1 second pause, and then the ball's gone, Or last year it was a grab and then a 1 second pause and then the try for the second grab. But he has got that back. He's got the confidence back to do that, because that grab, he didn't get it on the first grab, but he was straight away, went for the second grab. And as I said, it was against 4 opponents. And, it's just so good to see him back in his, mental best. I'm really proud that he's been able to work through those mental hurdles, because, it's probably underestimated how difficult it is to come back from that. So it's a testament. It's not a surprise to me, given how hard I know he works and all the extras that he does. So he's got set shot kicking back, his energy. He and Martin are leading the way for bringing the energy and keeping the team up and about. Super impressed by both their leadership so far this year. Look, in the end, it felt like their more experienced players won, those just some really important contests, and some of our more experienced players turned the ball over, missed very easy marks, and in the end, Carlton were able to hang on. They were incredibly inefficient going forward, as is their year, but they kicked 12 behinds, 9 of those in the third, from second quarter and beyond. So they did have their chances. But the fact that our backline, a makeshift backline, a nobody backline with respect, was able to keep this team under 80 points, that is just a wonderful feat. And yes, they were inaccurate and they probably kept us in it, but you have to force the inaccuracy. You have to force them to rush kick and to kick from, parts of the ground that are not comfortable to them. So I think a lot of that has to go to the back six, and, they held up pretty well. I was really impressed. I didn't really notice on the night. I actually thought he was quite average, but Guelphy continues to have a great night. I know Haynes and Doherty and Silvani had a lot of uncontested marks and intercepts, but Guelphy's ability to really just lock in and be pretty competitive and focused in, going from, I think he spent time on all of them, probably mainly Haynes. I thought Haynes was not as damaging with his run and carry from the back line as he probably has been, particularly that when they played GWS. I thought Haynes probably was one of their best players and really, began their ascendancy from their back half into their attack, started their attack. So I thought Guelphy did an exceptional job. His Martin's goal in the last was probably my favourite, and it was all due to Guelphy's work. That big, huge tackle on Haynes really set it up. So well done to Guelphy. I thought he deserved a shout out. I'm really happy how our tackles inside 50 are going. I said a few weeks back when I started these post replay reviews that I was really underwhelmed with our ability, our inside tackle count. I think it was at a 6. It's averaging at about an 8 now. Last night we had 10 inside 50 tackles, and I think that's personnel based. And I think Kako, Gresh, and Guelphy are all big part of that. Martin, Durham, obviously as well. Setterfield, all have a part to play in that. But I was really happy where that's at. I would love to see that even more, but from the third quarter onwards, we were able to really, even Hobbs had quite a few good moments in keeping the ball, inside 50. So really happy with how that's going. Look, I think in the end, the team we expected to win won. I was more than pleasantly surprised. I'm more than happy, and I know a lot of naysayers will say it's accepting mediocrity, and losing is not good for the morale and the culture, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at, to be quite honest, and I'm confident. I'm so confident that with three of our best players, Ridley, Draper, and Mackay, we would have won that game. So, okay, time for okay. 3 Twix goes to Martin. Spoken about him already. I'm so glad he gets the reward on the scoreboard a lot, because he deserves some of that, physical scoreboard reward for all the hard work he does. I think he is severely underestimated in this competition. If he's not in the squad, the AA squad already, then it's a blight on the selectors. And to be honest, he probably should make the team in the end. 2 Twix I'm giving to Setterfield. He just continues to play his role. I'm so impressed with how his year is going, and not, he kept Cripps ineffective really, but he also was on the attack and was reading Goldstein's taps really, really well. He's kept himself so fit. He doesn't look to be, gassed by the end of it. He's still got his run in his legs, and I just think he's one of our really selfless players. Continues to lead the pressure acts and tackles obviously for us. So really happy with how he's going. 1 Twix I'm giving to Dursma. Now, on the night, I thought he was nowhere near the best, but on the replay, wow. His ability to get up and down the ground, the defensive wing, and be a option, often not used, but to be an option, and just in some critical moments to put his body on the line. He is absolutely tough as nails. He doesn't look like he'd be the tough player, but he's tough as nails. So, yeah, really impressed with him. All right, half Twix go to 2 metre, Guelphy, already spoken about them. I think Durham definitely deserves a half. And then Clark and Johnson. Just on Johnson, he really impressed me last night. There was a point in time where Laverty was like raging for him to kick the ball to him, and he had like an opponent near him, and Johnson just like looked up and went, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And then he just dropped the ball inside 50. It wasn't a long bomb. He just dropped it right in the leading lane into space of Caddy. Caddy didn't mark it, but he went over his head, and then we kept the ball inside 50. But I thought I love that from a young second gamer there, to just say, it would be very easy to think a more experienced leader, eldest player in the back line there is calling for the ball and telling me I should kick it sideways to him. But I see something better, and he just saw a little pocket of space, and he just wheeled around and just deftly kicked the ball. And, Caddy should have had his hands out in front and marked it. But I just thought little signs like that you're seeing with Clark and Johnson are just really great signs. And, Felix was right. His footy IQ is starting to come through, and so that can only be a great thing. I love his disposal. I think he was up at about 80%, but he's thoughtful with his thoughtful with his, distribution, like the example I just gave you. And I'm loving that. And the more players we can get with that mentality and with that attitude and with that footy IQ, the better. So, all right, going to leave it there for the post replay review. What did you think? What did you think in terms of my Twix Awards? Do you agree, disagree? Who was unlucky not to get a half? On the edge was kind of like Parrish, did a lot of good, loved his clearance game, but lost a half a Twix with his turnovers and his ball use and his pace, not giving up on him at all. First game back, I thought he did really well. So we'll give him another couple of games. Who else was on the edge? Merritt on the edge, tackled beautifully in the second quarter, was really up to it. First half, I saw a bit of lacklusterness from him in the back line. Not quite sure he was really up to being as competitive as he should be back there. But he did rise, but that's why he doesn't get quite a half. Who else did I consider? I think that's about it. Oh, Kako probably deserved a half, but borderline. But I'm still happy with how he's going. So, all right, that's it for the post-replay review. You will get your forecast for the Geelong game. Oh, God, that's going to be a toughie. You'll get that tomorrow night. Thank you all for all the wonderful support. The fan cams were lots of fun. I had a really good sleep after that and had a nice little sleep in this morning. So I hope you've all enjoyed your day off if you got one today. And if you've worked, I hope you're sitting down right now and enjoying a nice, cozy, warm night in. So enjoy your night and I will see you tomorrow night.